Okay, so gaze stability, eye on head between two targets, like we talked about, trying to do that as they move in their home. If you're going to turn a corner, move your eyes first, then your head, right? Integrate it into their everyday movements so it becomes part of their everyday instead of just the exercise program. Then we have our traditional times one. For individuals, you can do this. I don't know if we've talked about this before, but we can also use the head impulse test to train VOR. And so instead of doing times one, you can actually have an individual look at the target and they're almost doing like a head impulse test to themselves. So they're trying to stay focused on the target. Or they just do, let's say, 30 quick head impulses to the right and then 30 to the left. And so it gives them a better speed typically, because I think people tend to slow down with this unless we're using a metronome. So you can really get a lot better speed. And it gives them just one task to focus on instead of this right and left and right and left. So that's another thing you can try. The targets that we use matter. So the targets, you want them to be small to where if their head is still, they can still see it clearly, but it's to their limit, right? So I usually use their static visual acuity we already have to do for dynamic visual acuity testing. So I know what their static is and I get a target that's at that limit that's what they're using for their dynamic visual acuity. So you need that small target to challenge them. You also need a target that's distinct. So you don't want it to be a dot on the wall. I try and avoid using like O's as much. You want it to be something that has some crisp, clean lines so that if they are losing focus of the target, they're going to notice the blur more versus like looking at your thumb or looking at a picture on the wall. The actual distinct line will let them know better, gives them better feedback on when it's blurring. If it's blurring, they're not focusing, their VOR is lagging, and then they have that correction internally. So the target does matter. Different ways that I've tried VOR. I think I've shared this a bunch of times is just to vary the direction of the head movement. So the eyes going on the blue E, you move your head the direction the E is open towards while they just move from E to E, one head movement per E. Other things that I've tried is while they're standing there, I have like jokes that get smaller. These are just like one-liners, like dad jokes, knock-knock jokes or whatever that I'll type up on a piece of paper, hang on the wall, and now they're doing some head movement times one while they read the jokes. It's humorous, it gives a little bit of fun to it. And as it gets smaller, it gets more challenging. So you have the ability to progress it that way as well. The different colors just varies the context a little bit, so it's not the same black E all the time. Other things that I've tried are doing word searches. So they're trying to find all 6 words before they stop moving their head. That can be challenging. It is a busy environment that they're trying to look at as they move their head. So I intentionally try to select easier word searches that are super easy to find online. So that's one option. I would encourage you to try the word search yourself before you give it to an individual, because even if you tried to look at this one, it's going to be really challenging. This is just too busy. It's too much for them to focus on. So really try and keep it simple. This is a variation of the E that I've started using. This is a Lambert C. This is specific to eye exams, and you're supposed to say the direction that the C is open. You know you're focused on the C because the opening is so small. So it really makes you attend to the letter to know. So this is the same kind of exercise as that E, except for it's a harder C. So they really have to focus and they're just going to move their head one time the direction of each opening and keep going across the line, then start on the next one. This is a harder dynamic visual acuity task because they really have a harder target to focus on. They really have to be seeing this see clearly to find that opening. And so that would be a progression if you really want to make sure that they're getting really good VOR focus. So that's another one. And I think I shared this in the handouts as well in a PDF or Word document or something. So you can use that if you'd like. So just some variety in ways that we can do gaze stability with different types of targets.